Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Ankush here from Alif Consulting. Today we are going to talk about Azure SQL Server. Well, let's start with the introduction. Azure SQL Server is a fully managed platform as a service database engines that handle most of the database management functions such as upgrading, patching, backup, and monitor without the user involvement. Azure SQL Database is always running on the latest version of the SQL Server database engine and the PaaS OS with 99.99% availability. Azure SQL is fully highly available and high performance performs database, and it do have the high performance data store layer in the backend for application and for the solution in Azure. So with the Azure SQL database, what exactly happen in this? We just need to basically manage our database, but rest of the things like managing the backend engine, managing the operating system, managing the hardware, managing the networking, security, that's something will taken care by the Microsoft. Although you will have a security features like monitoring your connections, allowing and disallow your connection to the Azure SQL database firewall, but like a security patching, fixing the security vulnerabilities, that something will be taken care by the Microsoft. Well, this is how your SQL on on-premise and SQL on Azure looks like. So in Azure, we do have a of two types of uh, deployment method to run a SQL. We can do it on Azure VM, and then we do have a SQL as a service. So if you see in this diagram, you will see if you are running the SQL server on a physical machine, or either if you are running on the virtual machine, you do need to do a lot of administrative tasks like upgrading the server, upgrading the operating OS, upgrading the SQL database, and then maintaining the hardware, upgrading the hardware. And the same way, if you go on the Azure, you do get a few advantages, like you don't need to manage your hardware, but you still need to manage your VM and still need to manage the SQL Server database engine as well. You have to make sure the VM, the operating system on which SQL Server is running, that should be up and date. And the same way, you have to make sure your server, the SQL Server engine which you are running, should be up and date with the latest version. But at the same time, if you are running Azure SQL, which is a PaaS service, you don't need to worried about any kind of upgrade, any kind of updating the hardware, any kind of updating the database engine. You always going to get a latest version of database engine running with your SQL server on Azure, and it's purely going to be a stable. It's not something like Microsoft is going to be push a latest version. They do have a R&D where they are going to basically test the database server. They are going to see which version is stable, and then accordingly they are going to push it to the Azure database as a service. Well, here are the some of the built-in capability for BCDR and global scalability. We do have a automatic backups. We do have a point in restore. We do have a active geo-replication. We do have a auto-failover groups. We do have a geo-redundant database which we can create with the Azure SQL. Well, here are the deployment methods. So we do have a two types of deployment methods. We can have a single database, or we can have a elastic pool as well. So it's so how you can basically have a differentiate, like with the single database, it's fully managed or isolated database. You can have a all your information which is required to be stored on a single database. And in this one, what exactly is going to be happen, uh, the compute basically which you're associating with the database is going to be only available for the single database. And this is a traditional way of doing hosting application on the Azure with the Azure database. Now another one is the elastic pool. So elastic pool is the collection of the single server database with the shared set of resources such as a CPU and memory. So if you go with the elastic engineering, what exactly is going to be happen, the sizing, the compute or the SKU which you are going to select, that will be shared across all the databases which is created in the one elastic pool. Well, this is how you can do a scaling and performance. So with the single one, you will going to get isolated and you will going to get a isolated database, and in this one you will going to have a agreed amount of compute and memory and the storage resources for the based on this queue which you have selected, right? But at the same time, if you go with the elastic pool, you can assign the resources and share with all the databases in the pool. So let's take an example. If you have a standard one or the premium plan created for a single database, that the amount of compute or amount of storage or amount of memory you will be get that only going to be assigned for the single database. But at the same time, if you have elastic pool and running a bunch of databases in that, the amount of sizing or based on this queue which you have selected will be shared across all the databases. So that's a basically a difference in between scaling and the performance when you're comparing the single database and the elastic pool. Well, this is how your elastic pool looks like. So if you go with basic, you can have up to 5 DTUs and then you can share it across the multiple databases. Same goes with the standard and same goes with the premium. So with the basic, standard and premium, all of them have their own capabilities and own limitation, but the compute, memory and storage resources will be shared across all the databases which has been created in the one pool. Well, this is the SKU which you can go ahead and have for your Azure SQL. So you can have a basic, you can have a standard, you can have a premium, you can have a general purpose, you can have a business critical, and then you can have a GRS, LRS, and ZRS storage types for your storage type for your databases to store your information and then shared across the region as well. Well, here are the service tiers. So we do have a 3 service tier for Azure SQL. We have a general purpose, we have a business critical, and then we have a hyperscale. So all of these three have their uh, own computes and own performance calculation, and then providing a performance to the database. So you need to choose accordingly. If you are having a business critical, definitely go with the business critical or premium service tier, or if you are just using for standard purpose, then definitely go with the standard one. So you can select service tier according to your application requirement. Well, here are the purchasing model. So you can go with the vCore, in which the core will be going to be assigned to your database. You do have a DTU, which is basically a combination of compute, memory, and IOPS for a resource. So you can check, you can basically create a database with the DTUs as well, and then you have a serverless method as well, which is automatically scale the compute based on the workload demand. So these are the purchasing modules and purchasing method. You can go ahead and select for your database according to your requirement. Well, let's move to the demo. So in the demo, I will show you how you can go ahead and create a database, how you can go ahead and connect that with the SQL Management Studio, and at the later I will try to cover the elastic pool as well, how you can create an elastic pool and add a database in the elastic pool as well. Well, uh, I am already logged in my Azure portal with my account. And in this account, if you go to the SQL Server here, if you can search from here as well, Azure SQL. So if you go here, you will see I don't have any SQL Server, sorry, any SQL databases created here. So to create the SQL databases, what exactly we need? We need to make sure we do have a SQL Server, Azure SQL Server created for that. So if you are hosting a SQL PaaS service, you need to make sure you should have a Azure SQL PaaS server created for that. So it's like a on-premise way where you do create a server and then you create a SQL service install on that, and then you create your database. But you will be only going to manage your database. You no need to worry about the SQL server in which you have created for your PaaS databases. Well, uh, let's go ahead and create the SQL database. If you click on create, you do will get a bunch of options. Either you want to go ahead and create a SQL database, either you want to create the SQL managed instance, which I will be going to cover in my future videos. And you do have another option which is called a SQL virtual machine, which is a traditional way of doing it on as an on-premise. You can do it on a VM as well, and then you can install your SQL server to do the SQL database, host the SQL database for your application. Well, And then here you do have a bunch of three options. You can create a single server, you can create an elastic pool, or you can create a database server as well to host a database. So let's go ahead and create a single database and click on create. After that, you need to fill a bunch of informations like a resource group, database name, and then the server, and then the sizing you need to select, and then the backup storage type you need to select. Well, in my demo, I already have one resource group created, which is the Alif demo RG. I'm going to use this resource group to deploy this database. Well, and then I need to define a name. So the DB name is going to be Alif demo db01, and then I need to select the server. So in this case, I don't have any server created. So let's go ahead and create a new server. So if you see, this is going to be a get up fqdn name, and we need to make sure the server name which we are creating should be unique, right? So Alif demo dot SQL server. Let's see if this name is available. Oh yeah, this name is available. And then we do have a location where we can select, where we can see where we want to deploy this databases. So we can deploy it any region, and then we can use it with the any other application which is deployed in the another region. So that's something we can do using the SQL string. But at the same time, you will be going to get a latency. So when you're deploying your application in specific region, you need to make sure your database should be deployed in that region only. Although if you're deploying in another region, you can still connect with the database, but there will be a performance issue since this database is getting connected over the internet, and you will be getting a latency in between application and database connectivity. And then you do have authentication methods. So you can use a SQL authentication, you can use Azure AD authentication, and then you can use SQL and Azure AD authentication as well. So in my case, I'm only using a SQL authentication. So I need to define the username and the password. Okay, so here is the good thing which I really want to mention here. So what I'm doing is I'm putting a password as a SA admin at 2022. So you see, this is giving me the error like the password which you are entering is having a part of your login name and you cannot use it. So I need to make sure I should have a different password than my login name. So let me go ahead and give the another name. You see, now everything is clear, and I'm not getting any error for the password because my password is different than my login name. Let's go ahead and click on OK. That's it. Now one important thing, in my case I have selected a server in East US, so my database is also going to be in the same location. Well, I am selecting a general purpose. So you can select your sizing accordingly. So if you click on configure database, you do have plenty of options, like you can go for the general purpose, you can go for hyperscale, you can go for business critical, and then for the D2 base you do have a bunch of options. So in my case, I'm going for D2 with the premium, and I am selecting, that's it, that's fine. I will be going to get 125 DTOs and then 500 GB of space for this database. That's fine. I would like to do that. And then if I want to connect it, put it in this join redundant, I can go ahead and do that. In this case, this will be get join redundant and shared across the multiple regions. But in my case, since it's the demo, I'm not doing it. Well, let's go ahead and apply this, and that's it. Then you do have an option to select uh, the storage account for backups. So in my case, I am just doing a geo-redundant because I want to replicate it to the paired region as well. And then let's click on networking. I don't want to do anything. So here is the option, like what kind of access I want to do. Either I want to enable the public endpoint, or either I want to do a private endpoint. If I click on no access, I will be not going to get any kind of access for this database. if I do a public endpoint, I will be going to get a bunch of options where I can allow a Microsoft service to connect using the first option, which is the allow Azure service and resources to access the server, or I can go ahead and add my client IPs through which I am going to connect with this databases. So I have one virtual machine which is created in Azure. So I am selecting a first option in my case so that I can connect this database through my Azure virtual machine. So since both of resources are in the same uh, uh, subscription, or they are in the Azure resource, they are all of both of them are the Azure resources. With the first option, by doing it, yes, I would be able to connect with this database. And then I do have a bunch of security features like a Microsoft Defender. I really don't want to do it. And then I do have identities. I do have encryptions which I can use if I want to do my own keys, like a customer managed key. I can go ahead and enable that for this database as well. So I'm not doing anything for as of now for TDE. I really want to keep it as a default. So let's move forward with the additional settings. Well, in the additional settings, I do have a bunch of options. Like if I want to restore it from any kind of backup, or I want to create a sample databases, I can go ahead and do that as well. So if I click on sample databases, the adventure work LT is will be going to create as a sample databases where I will be going to get a lot of tables and the stuff. But if I really click on none, it's going to be create a blank databases. And then I do have a another database collections, and then I do have Windows maintenance to select for this database basis. So let's keep it a default, and then I do have a bunch of options to tag this databases. I can tag according to the resource, according to the department, according to the applications. So that's something we can do according to the business requirement. Well, let's go ahead and create this database, and here I can go ahead and check the databases informations like name, authentication, compute, because there's a few information which I can't change after creating the databases. So I need to make sure that information which I am submitting for deployment should be corrected, and at the same time I would be able to see what exactly my monthly cost will be look like. Well, let's go ahead and create this database. Well, it's going to be take a few minutes because it's need to deploy a SQL Server and the SQL database as well. So it's going to be take a little time to do that. But if I'm deploying only a SQL databases on my existing server, that will be going to take a lesser time as compared to my this deployment. I hope this is not going to give me any kind of error for the limitations, because this is my demo subscription and doesn't have the resources which I have selected for the database. But I really want to have that resources like DTU base and higher DTU size, because I do have another video in which I am going to use this database. So let's see if it is get deployed, and then with this size of compute which you have selected, I would be able to convert it in the elastic pool, and I would be able to create a more databases on the one server as well. Because if you select the basic, then there is a certain limit come on the databases. So let's wait for this database deployment is get completed, and then I will show you how you can go ahead and connect with the database. Well, you can see the SQL Server has been created, and then it have put a few default firewall rules and the connection policies, and now it's creating the database. So I think it would be completed in next 1 minute. So let's wait, and then we will be going to connect this database from this database to our virtual machine which I have already deployed in the Azure. Well, it's taking a little bit more time, so let's wait for get this deployment completed and then we'll move forward with our demo. Well, looks like Azure have listened me, and now this deployment is successfully completed. So if I go to click on the go to the resource, it will directly redirected me to the database. So you will see this is a server name from where I can go ahead and connect to this database, and this is a pricing tier for the database which I have created. So let's go ahead and simply connect to the database. Well, to do that, I first need to copy this name, and I have my virtual machines in which I think I already have installed my SQL Management Studio. So let's open that. Yet, here is it. Okay, so it's going to be take 1 minute, I think, because it's a new installation which I did for this demo. So as soon as Management Studio is get opened, I need to just put the server name, I need to put the username, and I need to put the password, and then I will be able to get connected with this database which I have created in the Azure. So I need to select it the server type as a database engine, and then I need to basically paste the server name. So looks like copy paste is not working, so let's go ahead and type the complete name. Okay, let's go ahead and see what exactly. Okay, so Alif demo, this is the name. Okay, dot database dot windows dot net. Is it a correct, or it's d? And then I need to select the SQL authentication. I need to define the username and the password, and I can click on connect. That's it. I am connected with my database here to the SQL server in which I have deployed the databases, and you can see I have this database already here, and it's completely a blank databases. It does not have any kind of table, and anything is there, right? Now let's say uh, uh, if you want to deploy a one more server to this SQL, one more, sorry, not a server definitely you would be able to do, but let's say if you want to deploy a one more database in the same server, how you can do? You first need to click on this and you will be redirected to the SQL server which we have created, and then from here I can go ahead and create the databases. So as soon as I click on create databases, I just need to put a few informations like a database name, and that's it. It would be going to allow me to create the databases in the same server where I have created my existing database. So I just need to put the name for this database, and it would be db02. That's it. It is going to be elastic pool. No, I don't want to put it in the elastic pool. And for the backup, I really want to put it as a geo-redundant. And then in the networking, do I really want to enable or disable this? No, I'm not going to do any changes here. So that's it. This setting is read only, can be modified in the firewall bed. So this is not allowing me to change this one because I'm deploying a new database in the existing server. So what happened, the settings for will be automatically get inherited, but we will be able to change it. This allow Azure service and the resources to access the server after doing the deployment. That's it. So I'm not going to use a defender. Let's keep it the setting normal default. Review, create, and create. So it's going to validate my informations which I have put it here, and after that it would be able to deploy the database in the server. All right, looks like I did something wrong. Hmm. Because I have not haven't selected the compute and storage for this database. So I think I need to cancel this deployment. I need to go back to the server and I need to go ahead and create it one more time. Okay. Well, it's geo-redundant. That's it. That's fine. I can go ahead and 02. That's it. Why it's not going me to select the server? Interesting. Configure the DB. Oh, why is not allowing me to do that? That's fine because these are the things inheriting from. Let's try it one more time and see. So it's going to validate this and then it will be going to allow me to create the database. But let's see. So it's validating. Most probably if there is any error, it will be going to give it here. If there is no error, then it will be going to create the database. Well, looks like it's taking a more time. So let's move to the another task. So this is how you can go ahead and create one more database in the server. And as soon as the server is created, you can go ahead and refresh from here, and you would be able to see the another database which you have created in the same server. All right, so let's cancel this one for as of now. And from here, if you want to create a elastic pool, you can do that, and then from here you can add the database in that elastic pool as well. So if to create a new elastic pool, you just need to click on create a new elastic pool. You need to define the name and like Alif demo elastic pool. That's it. You don't need any settings. That's it. You can go ahead and click on create. And then later on you would be able to add the databases in the elastic pool as well. Well, all right. So that's what I have for you in the demo. I hope you like this video. If you like, please go ahead and like and subscribe for upcoming videos, and feel free to reach us in case of if you need any help for Azure or doing the migration. Thank you.